Good morning, everybody. How are we doing, Sammy, United People's TV? And it really does feel like a goody good morning. From what I can see down here in the comments, in the live chat. Wow! We've got JC who's gifted 50 memberships before the show's even kicked off. And so is Akash, gifting 50. And I'm Potato, coming in there swinging with 15 memberships. Everybody's got a smile on their face. It is Black Friday. Everyone's excited. Well, not really for Black Friday, I'll be completely honest, but it's a nice Friday. And it's a nice vibe after what was a dominant second half performance from Manchester United against Bodo Glimt last night. The first half, brilliant start. Then United going 2-1 down. We got the equaliser before half-time. There were positives, but then you were a little bit concerned that maybe the same thing is going to be happening all over again. The second half was very, very different and very much Ruben Amorim's identity. Now, what I'm going to do in today's show is run through everything from last night. Amorim's comments on his first game at Old Trafford. Amorim's comments on how he was received. The game itself, individual performances from Hojlund, Mazraoui, Mount. So much to try and run through this morning, and the podcast is already out. It's going to be a good show. Now, we are live on Facebook here today. Sean, I can see you there, but the Facebook chat isn't quite working properly. I'll apologise to everyone on Facebook. Actually, I won't apologise. You can blame Facebook. This will be the last day that I stream live on Facebook. So anybody who's watching on Facebook, please from Monday, come over to YouTube. I'll be here every single day, but I won't be doing it on Facebook anymore, all right? It's just that the Facebook software just isn't compatible. It's just too many problems, all right? Let me go over here. 1 second there. And I can see, man, Alex, you've gifted 5, and Andy, you've gifted 5. Alex, good morning to you. Carl, you're there as well. We've got Josh in the comments. What other mods have we got down here? Takeoff, you're there too. And what members have we got? Gray Milner, we've got a whole army of members here. John T, we've got Matthew, Stephen, Gray, we've got Andre, we've got Shiraz. Nice bottle of wine, Shiraz. Like a Pinot Noir, though, if I'm going to have a red. Mr. Williams, Bogdan, Liam, Mika, and James. Good morning to everybody. I hope you all enjoy the show. Please do fire in your comments and your questions. I will try and answer as many of them as I possibly can. And can I just say a big thank you to everybody who has been supporting the podcast. This is the week 1 of the podcast. I've been wanting to relaunch the podcast for months and months. And I feel like I've chosen... It's important when you do new things that you actually do something that holds value to people. And I think a 15-minute version, condensed version of this live show would actually be beneficial to a lot of United fans who don't have too much time but want to be kept up to date with the news that makes sense. That's what the podcast is there for. Thank you all for leaving your comments and for getting involved. It's week 1. We're going to be here for the long haul. So make sure you do go and follow it on Spotify or Apple or anywhere else that you listen to your podcasts. And of course, it is free. Shax, you're gifting 5 down there, man. It is this. I love this community. And this community is continued to enable me to make what I like to think is good United content. Won't always be good, but I like to think that mostly it is. We'll see. Now, can I just say one more thing here before we properly kick off this show? All right? And that is this. Sorry, forgot to get the link. Today is, of course, Black Friday, and we've actually done something on the merch site for Black Friday. 2 things. Number 1, anybody who purchases anything today, you'll get a free mug. So we've got the mugs up there. We've got the Solskjaer one. We've got the Cantona chip. We've got Garnacho's overhead and Scholes against Barca. We've also now got a brand new one for the FA Cup. So anybody who buys anything today will get a free mug. And also there's now bundles for the posters and the mugs. And this is the new poster that's now available on the site. I couldn't get it in the studio in time, so I can't have it on the wall, unfortunately. But this one I absolutely love. This is for, as I said, the FA Cup win. As Ahmad celebrating against Liverpool. I love these designs. Big up to Artie, who's our artist. But go and check it out. It's a brand new design. And it's for the FA Cup win that we had last year. All right? So you can check that out. But that's the Black Friday stuff out of the way. Rex, what you're saying down there in the comments, you're saying, can we just take a moment to appreciate Rasmus? Rivals don't rate him, but look at his conversion rate. The man can score when there is service. We'll take more than a moment to appreciate Rasmus a little bit later in the show. We're going to focus on Amorim to begin with. And I said it in my match reaction, I'll say it now. Zero surprise that Rasmus Hojlund scores goals when you give him the ball in good positions. Right? It's not a surprise. That's the striker we want him to be, and I think he can be. OPC, you gifted 5 memberships as well. Big up to you. Ashwin, thank you very much, man. I love these artworks, man. I love these artworks. And if you want it, this one here. I never even wear this one. This is the Hojlund merch. Did it ages ago, but never really spoke about it. That photo there is a proper welcome to being head coach of Manchester United, Ruben Amorim. I swear there was a photo, an old school photo. There was like Jose Mourinho sitting in the dugout. I think I remember that one. But Amorim's just standing there, all 20 cameras pointing at him, ready for his first game as Manchester United manager. I'm going to speak about that next at Old Trafford. But yeah, before I do, can I just quickly... This made me crack up when I saw this. Look, I understand that commentators have to commentate. I understand that sometimes they've got to fill silence with wibble. Oh, man. I swear I wanted to get... Robbie Savage was doing my head in last night. And that just cracked me up. Rumour have it that the Savage family are sitting in a 3-4-3 formation at breakfast today. Only when plating up, when they sit back, they're going to revert to a 4-2-3-1. That's top tier twittering, that is. Man, what was he on? It's like he's just figured out that tactics exist. And now he's just kind of shoving it down the throat of anybody who might semi-listen to him. It was... Keith, it's not even about Savage being a bitter man. It's just like, go away, you're boring. Go away. You're ruining the game for me. Jeez. Anyway, I wanted to mind about that. Let's speak about Ruben Amorim, all right? This is a nice little video that United just put out on Twitter. Oh, that's a bit loud. Amorim in his first game at Old Trafford. That was a surfer flag that went across the Stretford end. Is it Benvindo? Is that how you say welcome? I think so. Benvindo. And he enjoyed it. I thought, can I just say this as well? The Bodo Glimt fans last night were class. I always like it when they get that. That's where it's like, don't know, foreign crowds just got this mad bounce that they get together. Anyway, nearly 7,000 Bodo Glimt fans in Old Trafford last night, which is around about 12 to 15% of the population of the entire town. It's a fair play to them, and I'm sure they enjoyed it. Roy, you say, look, as a northerner in Norway, I had Bodo Glimt as favourites. It's not optional, but have been a United fan for 30 years. Well, I'm sure they all enjoyed themselves last night, and they made it a very good atmosphere. But for Ruben Amorim himself, it kind of sounded like the almost like he's a little bit surprised by just how welcomed he's been made, I suppose, by United fans. He's like, this was him speaking after the game, saying, "I did nothing for this club yet, but everyone's making me feel at home. Everyone's making me feel welcome, and that's something that I'm absolutely going to remember." And you saw it. Interesting. Well, you might not find it interesting, but in the 2 games that we've had under Amorim, we've scored in the first minute, and in both times, Amorim's just been like, right, okay, just kind of like just nods, not even nods, just kind of looks and goes, all right. And I think he spoke after the game. He's saying that I didn't really celebrate because we didn't deserve it. It was right at the beginning of the game, but, the game was setting up. And he celebrated more the second goal, which was Rasmus Hojlund's fantastic finish, because he's like, we deserved that. We were controlling the game. And that's why I celebrated a bit more. But I really think you saw what Amorim wants his United team to be in that second half. And we'll speak about that now. I'm going to go down to read some of the comments. What is Dalot's best position? Right, wing back. But Amorim will want a left-footed player to play there. Right? First time we played a Norwegian side in Europe. Didn't know that. Oh. David sent a super chat saying, sorry for being absent for such a long time. My daughter has just been diagnosed with epilepsy. It's had to be there for her. Keep up the good work. Well, David, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sure you'll be there for her, and I'm sure she's getting the support that she needs. I wish her the absolute best. Alex, you're saying there were Glimt fans in T-shirts there last night. Manchester Withers there summer. Fair play. They enjoyed themselves. Jackie, you're saying this is an evolution. This is, I think, what we saw in that second half, right, was what we always wanted to see under Erik ten Hag. United pushing the defensive line nice and high. United not forcing the issue. United not forcing an attack to happen. But if you need to, play it side to side until you can figure out a way to break those lines. And that's how we played last night. Now that win, look, it's been a poor start in the Europa League, but that's now back-to-back wins, and all of a sudden things look very, very different. Man United 1 point behind Spurs. Man United 1 point behind 6th place. Man United 4 points off top spot. Basil, I did think the first half was good, but the first half had ups and downs. First half had peaks and troughs. The second half, I don't think, had that at all. The second half was just pure United. And we'll speak about the mistakes that happened in the first half too. But Amorim speaking after the game was like, look, right now, the most important thing is winning. I will reach it, and I really like this point here, right? Because it's completely true, and this is about progression. Where we are currently in the Amorim journey, we're just in pure wins, all right? It's about setting the identity, sure. But he's spoken about this quite a lot. He goes, I'm not just sitting here expecting to be able to say, oh, just give me time and it'll work. You have to get the wins, because by getting the wins, you give yourself more time. They work hand in hand. So right now, the most important thing for Amorim, as far as he is concerned, is just get the wins. You know, that game wasn't perfect yesterday. We conceded two kind of sloppy defensive goals. But we scored 3. And the second half, we really squeezed Bodo Glimt into their own half and really looked like how we want United to look. But there will come a point where the wins won't be enough in isolation, and you'll need to see the identity really, really coming through into that team. And I think, look, he spoke about this. He goes, I think we improved in different things. From the last game, we improved on the ball. Tempo, pushed the team higher, created more chances, but we should have killed the game before the end of the game. And that's what I said at the start of my match reaction. He goes, it would be nice if this wasn't a squeaky bum moment, because it didn't need to be. It didn't need to be. Scott, you're saying, I'm trying not to get too carried away, but I'm getting a really good feeling about Amorim. I feel he's going to work, and Hojlund's first was so good. It's going to be easy to get swept away in the first few months, given what you've had before versus what you've got now. And the same thing existed with Jose Mourinho to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the run that we went on then. And we all got swept away. But for me, the identity is the main and most important part, right? And I think, let me just show you this. This is a really good example of what I'm talking about. Look how high Manchester United's defensive line is here, right? De Ligt is the furthest man back. You've got Martinez over there. You've got... Who's number 3? Is that Mazraoui? Where's Mazraoui? There's your back 3. Clear shape. There is your central midfield pairing. Bruno and Ugarte. Very clear. There's Rasmus staying central. And then, of course, you've got your different positions here from... That's Mason Mount. That's Anthony, that's Garnacho, and that must be Malacia, who of course went off at half-time. But the identity was clear. The approach was clear. The high defensive line was clear. And look at this as well. In terms of the ball progression and carrying, it was Mazraoui and Martinez who were standing out. And this is a really good example. All right. This is the third goal. You can see how high up the pitch Martinez is. There's Mazraoui. The ball from Mazraoui there going through to Mason Mount. Mason Mount with a little flick pass to Ugarte, who's making that run there. Hojlund, he's here. He makes that lovely little run and the ball comes in. Very, very, let's say straightforward. I mean, it wasn't really that straightforward. It was a great touch from Mason Mount that broke the lines. But that there, seeing United's defensive line so high, is part of this process. As part of the identity. Pushing the game into the opposition's half and doing it with control. And that's what United... Look, United had a lot of control against Ipswich, but rarely really threatened. A lot of the ball. So it depends on your kind of definition of control. I mean, if you have the ball, you can't concede. So technically, you're in control of the game of football. But are you really threatening much? Not really. I think Ipswich threatened more than we did. But that just wasn't the case in that second half. Did we tail off right towards the end? Yeah. But he explained about fitness. He made 4 subs again. 4 or 5 subs. It was a big step up from what we saw in the first game against Ipswich. And the difference maker is your goal scorer. You know, you always talk about football teams needing to be teams, sure, but teams need focal points. And I hope that across the course of this season, we spread the goals out and we don't have, I mean, if we have Hojlund scoring 30 goals, great. But I don't want to have Hojlund scoring 30 goals and the second person behind him having 10. So it's like, oh, if Hojlund doesn't score, then we can't possibly win a game of football. But yesterday, we saw what can happen when a United team plays towards Rasmus Hojlund and plays towards a focal point of an arrow. It's no surprise what we saw. But it was just good to see, if you know what I mean. Let me see what you're saying in the comments. Ugarte is going to be integral, says Takeoff. Well, I agree on that. Josh, you're talking about how much of a bargain Mazraoui was. I'm definitely going to be speaking about Mazraoui next. Glenn saying Mount showed his worth. I think Mount played well. Yeah, given the role that he was playing. Could he have done more? Sure. But he directly contributed to the winning goal and hit the bar. I still think there's more creatively that he can do. But he operated well as one of those inside forwards. Gray, you're saying just seeing a team play freely and with purpose had me swept away. I wouldn't say had me swept away. Let's not go crazy. Carlos watching from Colombia. How you doing, dude? We'll bring the map out later. Mainly you're saying Rasmus, lovely seeing the excitement from him. And he was excited, right? So excited that he whipped out the old... oh, that one actually. Let's being honest. You can stay alive, mate. You can stay alive. I'm not going to kill you after that. But he definitely watched. I think he spoke about it after the game. He watched Gladiator too. Did I mention? I think I said I watched that the other week. I enjoyed it. If you enjoyed Gladiator, I'd go and see Gladiator 2 at the cinema. From a cinematic perspective, I think it's the first film I've ever actually watched in IMAX. I didn't realise how good IMAX was. It literally, the screen fills up even your peripheral vision. It's awesome. I enjoyed it for what it was. It wasn't as good as the first one, but I think Terminator 2 is the only film ever to be better than the original. Someone else tell me a sequel to a film that's better than the original. I was having this debate the other day. I digress. Back to the football. Hojlund here talking about the system, and it's going to suit him. And it always was, because he played it at Atalanta. And I still kind of think it would suit Xerxes to a certain degree, because he played it at Bologna, but, well, let's see what goes on with Xerxes, because we haven't really seen too much from him. Home Alone 2? Nah. Oh, Empire Strikes Back, Godfather 2? Okay. Aliens 2? Nah, Aliens is better. Nah. Lord of the Ring. Fellowship of the Ring is the best Lord of the Ring. All right. Lord of the Ring? Lord of the Rings. Rush Hour. Aliens is definitely the best Aliens. Right. Anyway, Hojlund is happy that Amorim's in and happy with the system. And Amorim is happy with Hojlund. That's a good one there, The Dark Knight. The second of Chris Nolan's films is definitely, was it Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and then Dark Knight Rises? I've got to watch them all again soon at some point. Jeez! That's right up there. In terms of rewatch value, Lord of the Rings trilogy, Batman trilogy. Man. Well, Chris Nolan's Batman trilogy. Connor, yeah, Fellowship of the Ring, I think is the best, man. I've watched them all enough times. Yeah, it's the best. Although the action in the second one, jeez. Anyway, I'm really getting distracted by the film talk now. Amorim was speaking about Hojlund and saying how important he is and how good he was and how aggressive he was. And at the same time, saying he has so much to improve. And I think quite a lot of you in the comments will probably agree with this, because I certainly do. Saying about Hojlund has to have less touches. And I spoke about this in my match reaction. And I was saying, like, Haaland at his clinical best hardly touches the ball, but when he's in the box, he'll score a goal. Doesn't really have to get involved too much in the build-up play, just has to make sure he's in the right positions at the right time. Now, the team has to service that. And the only way that you reduce Hojlund's touches on the ball is if you improve the output of everybody else around him so that he doesn't have to touch the ball. And I think that's going to come over time. Hojlund will begin to trust his team more and more, that he doesn't have to kind of sometimes drop a little bit deeper and receive the ball. And I just think that's probably one of the things I think that will have pleased United fans the most about Amorim, is kind of the refreshing, and it is refreshing, it's the refreshing honesty of a post-match analysis. He'll say when things go right, but also we'll be like, well, we could have done that better. I'll be honest, I think Delo could have stuck to his position a bit more. He was speaking about Bruno kicking it long a little bit too much. He's speaking about Hojlund having less touches. Now, these aren't meant as barbs or like twist a knife in, like a manager throwing his player under a bus. It's just a manager saying what he sees in the same way that we see it as well. And that's what frustrated, I think, a lot of United fans about Erik ten Hag towards the end, when we put in a performance and he'd come out and say that we played well and we deserved to win it. And we're like, I mean, I don't think so. But Amorim has taken a slightly different approach. And it's not, I mean, I suppose it is criticism, but it's constructive criticism, saying Hojlund could probably have less touches. It'll make him a little bit more efficient. Delo needs to get used to that position and not cut inside as much, although he actually ended up being an inverted number 10 yesterday, so go figure that one out. And you're saying best sequels from Russia with Love. Man, I do not remember watching the OG Bond films, man. There are too many of them. Although Daniel Craig, 10 out of 10 Bond. I think he's probably the best Bond ever. I'll be honest. I always had Pierce Brosnan, but I think, well, it's Pierce Brosnan, Sean Connery, or Daniel Craig. You can do your top three. I think it's probably Daniel Craig now. Anyway, I like this from Hojlund, because the first goal was technically top tier. Ball into him. Great from Mazraoui, by the way. Great play, but a ball into him. Kind of an awkward position, body height. I think he took a touch on his left foot first and like set himself up and then scored with his right. Or was it the other way around? I think it was left foot and then right foot finished. But he actually said, I'll be honest, the second one was a real Rasmus goal. And I remember doing my profile on Rasmus Hojlund and speaking about this so often, that Hojlund is so good at getting into those positions and positioning himself in front of the centre-back so that if a ball comes across the box, he can sweep it in. That's what Hojlund says there. That's a real Rasmus goal. And if we get our wing-backs, and look, it was a central midfielder who actually passed it to him. It was Ugarte breaking the lines. If we get everybody focusing on finding players in the box, you're just going to score a lot more simple goals. And not every goal's got to be sexy. Not every goal's got to win goal of the season. A goal's a goal, ultimately. But Hojlund, the fact that he said that, he goes, that was a Hojlund goal, right? Positioning myself in the box at the right time, making the right run, and kind of sweeping it home. That's what he wants to score more of, and I can't wait to see more of him doing that. Now, let me see what you're saying about Hojlund down here in the comments. Some people getting angry about me saying about Daniel Craig. Woo! Mate, Daniel Craig films are great. Casino Royale's the best one, I think. Skyfall was banging. Who's going to be next? I don't know who the next Bond's going to be. A Berbatov-like finish, man. It was mustard. It really was. It was mustard! John T, you just got the winter bobble hat. It's legit. Isn't actually that cold today, but sorry. Let's get the bobble on. Dylan's saying that's what happens when you keep the ball. You get easy goals. That's all. I mean, look, that goal wasn't easy. But when you watch it back, it feels simple. Pass, pass, pass. One little deft touch to break the line, a square ball, and sweep it home. Certainly easier than like Bodo Glimt's first goal, where it was a banger. It was like 9 out of 10 times. That's not going in. But as much as I want to wax lyrical about Hojlund, we definitely need to have a conversation here about Mazraoui. Now, this is not the first time we've had this conversation, nor is it going to be the last time this season. This bloke's consistency is just something that we haven't seen at this football club for a long ass time. I don't even... It's almost an impossible question, really. Like, when was the last player in a United shirt that just week in, week out, you just knew what they were going to do. You just knew how they were going to play. And you knew that they were going to deliver. That's what Mazraoui is doing at this moment in time. And it's just every game is like a 7 out of 10 from him. Last night, I think, was better than a 7 out of 10. The movement for that equaliser to win the ball back, dink past two players and just drift in another another cross into the box was great. And I know you're all going to be going down there speaking about Dennis Irwin, who I think is completely correct. That's going to be where the comparisons lie. Bruno, someone's saying down there. Delot last season. And now Delot... That was the first game, I think, that Delot didn't start in like 40, 50, 60 games. Something like that. Something nuts. But just Mazraoui is just delivering on a level. I'm not reading that out, Ant. You don't like Daniel Craig. I get the point. Ruben Amorim loves Mazraoui. Quote unquote, he's an incredible player. He's our future. He always looks fresh. We have to be careful with him every game. He's the kind of player we need. And that bit there that he says there, that's so true. Even towards the end of the game, it looks like Mazraoui has a spring in his step. Doesn't really look leggy. Doesn't really look like he's reaching. He's got a long reach with his legs, but it doesn't look like he's lunging in, if you know what I mean. And I said this in my match reaction last night. Decision making, 10 out of 10. Whether you're playing right wing back, right centre back, left wing back, left back, right back. Maybe not as a number 10 anymore. Let's be honest. That was a one-time madness. That's probably the weirdest thing I think Erik ten Hag did. But by some margin, Mazraoui is the best value signing in England this season. Now, the only reason that he was let go from Bayern Munich was presumably because of A, his injuries, and B, who was playing ahead of him? Was it Kimmich? I don't even know who plays right back for Bayern. Alphonso Davies, left back, isn't he? I've got no idea. But it was the only concern that any of us had about Mazraoui. Like, Kevin, you're down there saying, anyone still regretting Wan-Bissaka? I remember the title of my video that I did. I said, Mazraoui is the risky signing that could well pay off for United. And it's absolutely paid off. It's just, he's been brilliant. Conrad Lehmer, he also plays right back. That's a good shout. Don't know whether it's Kimmich or Lehmer. Either way, Bayern Munich, I would say, are definitely regretting letting Mazraoui go. And isn't it? It's the way football works. I would love United to find... Hey, look, it's not as if Mazraoui was like finding a rough diamond. Mazraoui was always a very good football player. It was Just United were willing to take the risk on his injuries, and it's paid off, right? But I would like United to find more gems, because there are so many available in football. Now, at United, it is difficult. You have to try and minimise risk as much as possible with signings so that, Brighton being able to use the South American market and find so many great players, we wouldn't really have as much freedom to do that. But I already spoke about, was it Balibar? And how they replaced Caicedo with him was fantastic. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. That is another reason why buy and let him go. What else are you saying down here in the comments? Do I think Malacia has lost his pace? I'll speak about Malacia a little bit later. Danny's saying it's actually crazy how this system is perfect for Lindelof. No. Shane, Daniel Craig is the worst Bond. I think Timothy Dalton might disagree with you. Is it Timothy Dalton? I think it was. Daylights? Is it Daylights something? Can't remember the name of the film. Love Mazraoui. Great value signing. And as Amorim correctly says here, he's the kind of player we need. If we had more Mazraouis, we would be in no way, shape or form in the same position. Can I turn my watch on mute? Probably can. Must be a silence button on this. Airplane mode. That'll do. What's that? Do not disturb. Do not disturb. On for 1 hour. There you go. I can press that every time we start a live show now. Living daylights. There you go. I was close enough. I knew I had daylights in. Right? I've got a whole James Bond argument going in the comments. Frank, thank you for gifting 5 memberships down there, dude. Good morning to you. Takeoff is saying, Sam, do you think what do you think will be the role of Luke Shaw going forward? In the short term, you're going to be seeing Luke Shaw operating as a left centre-back. And maybe as the season progresses and the fitness progresses, you can talk and have conversations about Luke Shaw going into the left wing-back position. But it's going to be a lot more running. Hence why reintroducing him as the left centre-back, building him up there. He's good with the ball at his feet. He's good as alternative to Lisandro Martinez. And we saw the impact of Martinez yesterday, right? I said it in the preview to this game week. I said, one thing you can guarantee, right? We're never seeing another starting 11 under Ruben Amorim that has Johnny Evans as left centre-back, Casemiro and Eriksen in the same starting 11. And none of them started this game. Amorim is learning on the job, unfortunately. He has to learn in games. He learned a lot against Ipswich, and I think he learned a lot against Bodo Glimt. Does he know his strongest 11 yet? No, I don't think he does. But game by game, he's building on it. Let's move on to, who's the next talking point here? Mount. What did you make of Mason Mount's performance? I thought Mount did pretty much what I thought he was going to do, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I thought he helped the overall team shape out of possession. I thought he could have done more in possession. But it was interesting hearing Amorim's comments after the game, speaking about Bruno and Mount. And actually, we had the chat in the live show yesterday, didn't we, before the game? We said, look, let's take Casemiro out. Ugarte's going to start. We called all of this. So we got that part right. We said, Ugarte's going to start. But who's going to start alongside him? I mean, you could technically put Eriksen in there, but maybe not. It's not really going to have the intensity. So then we had a whole conversation about Bruno or Mason Mount and which one we would prefer to play deeper. I said that I wanted Bruno further up because I like Bruno further up the pitch. Now, after the game, Amorim spoke about it. And after the game, Amorim was saying that Bruno being deeper, he was kind of allowed him to set the tempo. He had a good passing range. I think in possession, Bruno actually offered quite a bit. I think out of possession, there were mistakes, which should not come as a surprise of Bruno playing in a central midfield pairing. Out of possession is going to be where your natural defensive players are better. In possession is where your natural attacking players are better. Go figure, right? I thought Bruno actually did okay. Could have done better for sure. Mason Mount in that role, inside forward, I think he did well. Let me see what you're saying in the comments. Mount had an okay game. Just grateful he came through without injury. He's better in the 10 than Bruno because he keeps the ball better. I think Mount was a 7 out of 10. He was better on the ball than before. Hope he grows into it. Alex, you're saying Mount was very tidy, but he needs an overlapping wing-back to be more effective. Anthony didn't help him enough. And I don't think you like Mount. Good intensity, good pressing, zero creativity, apart from the back heel that he did that led directly to United's winning goal, and apart from the fact that he hit the bar and nearly scored a goal as well. So I think you're being very harsh on him there. Mount had a good. I think Mount had a good game. I think Mount will be happy with how he played. Can he do more? Sure. Can Bruno do more? Sure. Would I say, can every one of those United players do more? Sure. But given that Mount hasn't played for a long time, I'm fine with that as a reintroduction for him. Because, yeah, if you go from kind of one extreme to the other, really, I felt for Malacia. When that ball went over the top of his head, I was just like, go on, Malacia. I was like, go on, man. Come on. And then as soon as the Bodo Glimt, I can't remember his name, as soon as he got like a yard on him, Malacia didn't have the pace to get back in front of him or the strength to pull him back and get in front of him. And it was just, as I said, it was a real shame for him. And it goes to show that difference between being fit and being match fit. Because he would have been putting in the yards. 550 days he had to wait. 550 days between his last game and that game. And yeah, I don't know whether I'm going overboard in my reaction to that. But as football fans, we can only judge by what we see. And largely, opinions of footballers have to be created by what you see on the pitch. And this is why it's important not to bring players back too soon from injury. I'm not saying that he has been rushed back because he's far from it. But he was deemed to be fit and ready for the game after a lot of rehab and a lot of work. And when the ball got put over the top, he didn't have that burst of pace that made him such a good recovery fullback before. That's what I would describe it as. I thought that was always the best part of Malacia's game, the explosiveness over the first 10 yards. His ability to recover if he goes forward and gets caught out of position, getting back into position like in the blink of an eye. Yeah, man, it is a long time, right? 18 months that he was out. Unfortunately for him, it's like, I hope that maybe I don't know, maybe he's put on too much timber. Maybe he's just lost a bit of explosiveness and like the muscle twitch fibers that you just won't get back until you're really doing it. Maybe he needs to go back and switch his training methods up to focus on the explosiveness, because the explosiveness is probably the most dangerous thing to work on after an injury like that, because that's when you've got to really drive all the pressure through your knee, which is, of course, you've had a double meniscus surgery on. So I'm hoping for Malacia's sake that this is just going to be a lesson learned. Maybe they'll tweak how he's doing personal rehab after this, and he can focus on that explosiveness. And maybe he hasn't been doing that up until this point. But yeah, I really feel for him, man. I thought Amorim was correct to take him off at half-time, and I'm sure it wouldn't have been a horrible thing. I think every player in that squad will love Malacia. And yeah, I definitely will empathise more with players who have real injury problems, but put the graft in. Like Mason Mount, I'll probably be a little bit more empathetic with than most fans. Malacia as well. And that's because I'm 9 months into my own rehab, and it affects you mentally. And I'm not a Premier League bloody footballer. I'm a bang average athlete, and I don't really need to move for my job. So let alone being an actual footballer, and you can't do anything because of injuries that just keep coming back. 550 days is a long day. Darryl, you're saying his body position was wrong. That's why he got dusted. I kind of agree with that. But the thing is that Malacia, previously, that wouldn't have mattered because he had the ability to recover. that recovery pace kind of covered up any sort of semi-flaws that you saw in his game a lot of the time. Right. Let's find out. I hope for his sake that he can use that to learn and improve. But yeah, he definitely still needs to improve. Now, I want to quickly have a conversation here about Garnacho. Before we had kicked the ball under Amorim, I said I worried about Garnacho. And the reason I said I worried about Garnacho, I'm not just going to speak about his style of play, kind of a heads down type of attacker. But I worry because looking at Amorim's system, the two inside forwards don't have width. It's not really their game. They're inside forwards because they stay slightly more narrow, so fullbacks can go forward. Now, the left winger will have a little bit more freedom to go forward because typically in the system, you're going to have the right wing back who's going to be more aggressive, and the left wing back is kind of stays back a little bit more. So there is a little bit more. But Garnacho, look, I'm going to pull up this example here, right? Which is the easiest. It's the easiest of passes to Rasmus Hojlund to make it 4-2 in the 53rd minute. Just a simple ball across. Rasmus has got enough time to take a touch, look where he wants it, sit down, talk about the 3-4-3 with Robbie Savage, and then score. I don't know what his shot conversion rate is, but it's low. And this is something that I'm going to be really interested to watch across the course of this season. Because in my opinion, this is something that you can help with coaching. The reason that Garnacho is the player he is today is because of the career that Garnacho has had so far. Being the big fish in the small pond with the FA Youth Cup team. Coming into a United team which had function, but largely was dysfunctional when Garnacho was there. And who kind of relied on him a lot of the time, especially last season when he started, 38 consecutive games, to be the creative outlet, to run at players, to create something where others couldn't. And then he's still in that mindset this season, but it just won't work with this team. It goes against what Amorim is trying to build. Now, there will always be a time and a place for a winger to have a heads down moment and get a shot away. But the reason we won yesterday was because people got their heads up. Hojlund was found in the box with two different crosses, and he scored twice. And that one there is just an extremely straightforward pass from him. I personally think that we will see Garnacho develop this. I think this is something that Amorim will probably have to do more behind the scenes. Just to speak to Garnacho and say, look, right, these are the sort of attacking patterns that we're going through. And there was lots of attacking patterns yesterday, but sometimes you have to lift your head up. With the way that this team is going to be built now, there's going to be a lot more options inside that box than there ever was before. There's going to be a lot more runners. And I thought Garnacho did it sometimes yesterday with the cutbacks to Mason Mount. The cutbacks are going to be so easy. Ross, you're saying that, how do you choose to shoot from that position? It's just that's the way that he's been fine-tuned as a footballer. Head down, take it yourself, responsibility on my shoulders. In a similar way to how Bruno, a lot of the time, when things aren't going right for United, head down, I've got it, I'll find the killer ball in behind. Even if there's probably a smarter play to just do 2 or 3 simple passes, I'll take responsibility. And it's not always about taking responsibility. Daz, you're saying he's a glory hunter? I don't think it's just that. I think it's because United have relied on him a lot to actually create opportunities over these last couple of years. But we don't need to do that anymore. So we need to see a slightly different Garnacho. Look, and I really like that point as well, Linville. It's a really good point down there, right? In that second half, Amorim made a tweak, which I'll speak about in my lunchtime video. Lunchtime video is going to be 5 things we learned from the game yesterday. It's not the first time I've done the format. I've done it for quite a while ago, but I'm going to consistently try and bring these to you now. Mandia, thank you. Mandler? Thank you for gifting 5 memberships, dude. But in the second half, he tweaked the formation somewhat. And what he did was Malacia went off, Dalot came on, and then Dalot ended up drifting inside as the inside forward. And it almost felt like Garnacho was holding the positions of a really wide left wing back at that point. But then out of possession, it was Dalot who was tracking back into position. So basically, he allowed Garnacho the width, and that really helped him. And it also allowed Dalot some space inside to get on the ball. I think Garnacho is going to need some coaching to develop a mindset to become a real team player. And I think that could be applied to quite a lot of these United players. I just think it's probably more obvious with Garnacho than most. Let me see what you're saying down here. He wants to be Ronaldo. Being selfish is fine if you're banging in the goals, but his shot conversion rate is horrible. I think hot take, I expect Garnacho to develop his game this season under Ruben Amorim. And I think if he doesn't develop his game under Ruben Amorim, there are going to be question marks about whether he fits the system. And the same goes for Marcus Rashford. We have got a focal point in Hojlund, and we saw it yesterday. Like, the second goal was not rocket science. The second goal was just like a well-drilled training pattern that just got executed in the game. Easier said than done, but that's what it was. First one was great. That was like an individual moment from Mazraoui, individual moment and quality from Hojlund. Second one was like, we can score that goal like 15 times this season if you just listen to me and we repeat these patterns. Yeah, Peter, you're saying the in-game tweaks. I really like the in-game tweaks. So did Robbie Savage. Had to mute him, I swear to God. Right, let me see what else you're saying down here in the comments as we wrap up the analysis of the game. Garnacho and Rashford have a similar profile. Hopefully Garnacho properly develops his game so he's not just a P&P player. What's P&P? Don't know what that means. You know. Anyway, I really enjoyed the second half last night. I thought overall it was a very good game. Apart from the fact we went 2-1 down. And it was, both goals were kind of like defensive lapses, it felt like. It felt like, I think it was a big clearance from De Ligt that got knocked back in next to Bruno, and there was one pass that kind of cut through three players, and then it was straight in the back foot. Then it ended up being a cutback, and then Bruno didn't mark his man because he's not a natural number 6. And the second goal was just a ball over the top. Pace and power is P&P. All right, thank you very much. Ball over the top of Malacia's head. It kind of looked like they played that on purpose to exploit it, if you know what I mean. But I enjoyed Ugarte's performance. I enjoyed Hojlund's. I enjoyed Mazraoui's, Mount's, Martinez. I think Onana as well. And Onana was having some fun yesterday. He's like, oh, yeah, here we go. Now I'm sweeper keeper. Bang, handball. It's not handball, ref. Bang. He enjoyed it. Apparently I missed a super chat at the start of the show. Let me go back and have a quick peep. Shundable. Helge is saying, I'm trying to get that we actually beat the team that has been best in class in recruitment in the Norwegian League and have done well in Europe. I can't quite understand what you've written there because it's in broken English. Sorry, my friend. But yeah. John T, thank you for gifting the membership, dude. Bodo's second goal was world class, man. That finish, I'm telling you, it's like 9 out of 10 times that's going over. That was a fantastic finish. Frankie, saying you love the subs Amorim made. There's a lot to like in what we saw yesterday. Is it the finished product? Nope. Oh, it's the second game. No one's suggesting it. But after 2 games, we can say with confidence that we are seeing the foundations of an identity. I told you, game by game, that little bit of progression. 5% better. Now let's take that into Everton. Let's be 5% better. It will be against slightly better opposition. I mean, Everton have just been just Everton, I suppose. But yesterday, Amorim made lots of changes. Anthony coming in, Malacia coming in, Martinez coming in, Ugarte coming in, Mount coming in, Hojlund coming in. And the system was the same, but actually better. So the quality of the system will be down to largely the quality of the players. And we know that, right? And yesterday you saw what happened when we had better players. You had Martinez playing as a left centre-back instead of Evans, and we were better. You had Ugarte playing as a central midfielder instead of Casemiro, and we were better. Bruno instead of Eriksen, and we were better intensity pressing. Hojlund is the striker, and we scored goals. Yeah, it's not a coincidence. You play better players, you play better football. And I think Super Chat, dude. You're saying Onana channeled his inner Bartes last night. Onana was on a hype. He was like, nah, I've got it. I'm surprised he didn't come out and just headbutt someone. He was halfway there. Onana was enjoying himself, and that was largely due to this. I'll go back to this, which I'll run through in a little bit more detail in the lunchtime video. It was due to United having such a high line. De Ligt right in the centre circle. Onana's average position was outside his own box. That's funny. Alexander, what are you saying? The problem we have is Garnacho shouldn't be starting. We have no senior player ready to step up. We are overly relying on him, and he's learning his craft. Well, I would kind of semi-disagree with that, because I think if I'm looking at one position where Man United have strength in depth in options, I'm probably looking at that position. I'm looking at the two inside forwards. You've got Bruno, Mount, Rashford, Garnacho, Ahmad. That's 5. Who else have I got? Xerxes. That's 6. I actually think it's the positions where we have most strength in depth. Let's see. Let's see if he starts against Everton. It may be more tweaks. It may be that Garnacho comes out and Xerxes comes in. It might be that Rashford goes on the left and then Ahmad goes on the right. We have no idea. We'll find out. Yeah, right. So can I quickly ask you to please drop a like on the video, and can I say one big thank you to everyone, as I said at the start of the show. Thank you for supporting everything that I'm trying to do here on United People's TV. The new daily podcast is launched and people are enjoying it. Thank you very much for leaving the comments, and make sure you keep leaving comments. And today is Black Friday. Anybody who buys anything on the merch site today, you'll get a free mug. Lovely. And also we've launched new bundles with the posters and the mugs. Great value if I do say so myself. And we've launched a brand new poster for the FA Cup win, which might be my favourite. I keep saying that about them all. I think they're all great, but that's just an iconic image. I love that. Alex saying that I've been an active viewer since day one, got banned by the mods because I criticised Garnacho. Well, if you got banned, then you probably got banned for a right reason. I don't know. Have a go at the mods, not me. I know it's map day. Don't worry, the map day is coming. But can I just say also happy birthday to Chido Obi Martin, and also, he's signing his first professional contract. So there'll probably be a photo coming out today. In fact, is it already out? Let's have a little peep. Nope. Right. Anyway, doesn't really matter. He signed that. Lovely. It's been a really strong start for Obi Martin. Jude saying that McTominay would have been a nice option for an inside forward. Yeah, probably would have been. Not from a technical sense, but from a lot of other ways, yeah, it would have been. And I don't think this will come as too much of a surprise to anybody seeing this and hearing this, that Liam Delap is catching the attention of a lot of clubs. Only joined Ipswich in the summer from City 21, and it wasn't just the United performance. I think I've seen him a couple of times, even against Liverpool, and was he against Spurs as well? Like, he's a pest. That's probably what I would describe him as, but he's a technical pest. He's actually got qualities, but certainly makes his presence felt. So I'm not surprised to see that United are being linked with him, or United are sort of interested in him, but believe that City have got a buyback and matching rights. So if Liam Delap goes anyway, he's probably going to go back to City. So that wouldn't be surprised to see that one develop. Now, let me wrap this up for today by whipping out the map. And I can see you all saying this down there. Yeah, let me know where you're watching from, the country and the city, and I'll get some of you added onto the map. But this team here, we still don't have Lenny Yoro in it. And we still don't have Kobe Mainu in it. They're the two big players who are missing from that starting 11. We're still figuring out the wing-backs. That's going to be where probably the most tinkering and the most change comes. Anthony didn't play anywhere near as well as Ahmad. Go figure, right? Jordan, I don't think you're watching on the moon. I think you're lying. Unexpired cheese. It's a very interesting username, that one. We've got Samuli watching from Finland and in Helsinki. Man, I really want to go Scandinavia. I've never been. I was supposed to go Sweden for the Europa League final against Ajax, but I couldn't because I couldn't afford it. So I had to sell my ticket. Not that I'm bitter about it at all. Oh, look, loads. We've got Tiskan watching from Örebro in Sweden. All right, bro. Don't know why I did that. Just came out. Intrusive thoughts. Sometimes you got to let them out. Most of the time not, or I'll get banned. And we've got Eric watching from Abidjan in Ivory Coast. Awesome. Abidjan. Is that the capital? I think it's the capital. All right. Look, thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to wrap that up for today. It's been an exciting week. We had the Ipswich game and we had some positives, but a lot of similar concerns. And then against Bodo Glimt yesterday, it was a much changed 11. It was a strong start. United then reverted to character and conceded 2 goals. But that second half, slight tactical tweak, real dominant second half performance. And we deserved the win. Now, thank you all for tuning in all week. I'll be here on Monday, return of the podcast and return of the live show. I'll be here at lunchtime today with a video on the 5 things we learned. I'll be here tomorrow with my Everton starting 11. Then Sunday, we got the Everton game. And I will be here. Have a cracking weekend, everybody. Drink responsibly. And I haven't had a drink. How long now? A long time. I think it's like 60 odd days. Go me. Take it easy, everyone. Don't know why I just did that.